Welcome back, Guardians. Today's report is quite a precarious tale, taken from multiple readings and perspectives regarding the offensive against the Hive host deep within Luna. Be forewarned, if you feel you must join the campaign against Crota and his minions, your survival is something the Vanguard cannot guarantee. But perhaps that is why you are here, seeking and consuming all available information before you join the fight. It is a noble sentiment to place oneself in harm's way before another disastrous threat may befall us. But you must be certain you are prepared. The horrors and travesties coming from Luna are burdened by loss and sacrifice. Such stories come directly from lone survivors, mainly that of Eris Morn and a few otherwise lucky Guardians. Undoubtedly, their escape and ability to cheat death has been guided by the light. But what can we Guardians do against an enemy that consumes light? A gluttonous fiend, ravenous in design and ambition. We speak of Crota, the Light's End, an ancient enemy, whom at the will of the Hive Pantheon have seen more worlds fall than we could care to comprehend. He is vile. His actions are fueled by an incomprehensible hostility encased in a vitrolic essence. Eris Morn would guide a fire team of Guardians to halt the progress of the Wakers of Crota deep within the Hive tunnels on Luna. There, Guardians would find several of the Hive's top lieutenants attempting a dark ritual of reincarnation. To bring Crota back into our realm would require science and magic that remains a mystery to all but a few of us. Toland the Shattered and perhaps Osiris had the knowledge of the Hive rites that we seek. Unfortunately, they remain out of our grasp. Regardless of our continued ignorance of Hive incantations, the Wakers were defeated, and Crota's soul was banished back into the dark nether from whence he came. The city, and even portions of the Vanguard, believed it would end there. The threat of Crota passed into another chapter of the city's long and bewildered history. But Eris would warn of a second coming, more successful than the first, a threat that must be ended in our realm. She proclaimed, "Beyond the threshold at the pit of the Hellmouth, Crota still lives, and his disciples will continue to haunt the earth, seeking the power to raise him again and again, until the earth is carved in his name. But there is a way, spoken by the Shattered One, to enter the dark where he sleeps. Perhaps you can succeed where we could not. Gather a force worthy of the light and enter that abyss. Only there can we truly see to Crota's end. It is there, in the darkest regions of the Hive tunnels where your light is tested, that your journey begins, amongst the lamps of our enemy. The lamps may act as waypoints powered by our light, giving us the ability to map the Hive puzzle and formulate a plan to move against the waves of thralls and knights. Reports are written and recorded as if the writers were rushed, frantic, and shocked, describing only a horde of enemies in pursuit and a dim light to guide them. Some found a solution, although the pathway is mired with holes to oblivion and outcroppings of thralls and ogres. The way remains possible to brave, should you require it. Follow the light, Guardians. It is your seeker and your hope manifested into an unseen will. It will guide you when logic will not. Further into the Hellmouth, you faced yet another trial, this one more perverse and challenging to the previous. In recollection, what you see before you has often been described as beautiful. The Hive architecture and design is truly awe-inspiring. If they were not our enemies, these transgressions into their territory could be so much different. But this is not the time for potential, this is the time for war. The enemy you face requires your respect, as does the bridge you are asked to create. Your creation is a twisted version of the Hive will. It could be another puzzle, a ritualistic offering, or simply a detriment to those who would seek Crota's demise. Regardless of the ultimate design, the pathway must be created and defended by you and your most trusted allies. The Hive host will seek to end you with their abominations. Immortal to standard Guardian weaponry, the gatekeepers will meet you once you make the fateful cross. They can only be followed with weapons infused in absolute darkness. The sword carried by the Ascendant Hive, who are the most ruthless of the Hive Knights, battle-tested and fueled by raw hatred for you and your light. They are proclaimed as sword bearers, as if such a title held honor. It holds only death, as Toland would tell us. A shredder or a boomer is a powerful weapon, but it kills acyclically, you see. It sends out harm and it takes nothing back. The bolt passes away into nothing. A sword, though. A sword is like a bridge, a crossing point. The sword binds wielder to victim. It binds life to death. And when the binding is done, the sword remembers. When the boomer's fire has burnt away into axion and neutrino scatter, the sword goes on, hungrier and sharper. Understand that this nightmare logic underpins his nightmare world, and you will see why the Ascendant Blade has so much power there. Whenever in our passage we find ourselves in need of power, remember that the greatest authority here is a blade made keen by eons of use. This is the world the Hive carves, a universe creased by the edge of the sharpest sword. Your offering to the Hive gatekeepers is eternal peace, an end to their torment of the light at the hands of their own weapons. In front of you stands a creation placed outside the laws of our reality, an enemy that is neither alive nor dead, simply a being of motion and matter that cowers and shrieks at your presence. Reports from this point forward are difficult to receive. They are scattered and scarce, as the Death Singer has claimed many, and will continue to annihilate Guardians unless those worthy of the Light's embrace can best such an enemy. The Song of Ir-Yut, the Death Singer, remains a great mystery, even to the greatest of all Hive knowledge, Toland the Shattered. Toland would reach into the abyss only to find himself pulled deeper into a sea of unknowable intricacies. Perhaps they know of a way to make themselves part of the song, part of something vast and burning that rots and peels into ash but never ever ends. Perhaps she has engineered this for him and pinned his power up against the quiddity of death itself. The orchestra of death will cut into your ears and attempt to relieve you of what you hold most dear. Do not allow this transgression to go unnoticed. Although Ir-Yut surrounds herself with hundreds of the Hive's greatest warriors, marked in darkened yellow and ash, conventional weapons of light and hellfire can see to her end. Make it so, Guardian. She has spun a song of death and pestilence that has lasted an age. It is time to remove her from our realm, as you and others have done with so many Hive lieutenants. Time is short, however. As reported by survivors, once the song begins, it will only finish with your death or her obliteration. It must be the latter, as we have lost too many in this campaign against Crota already. If your battle against the seamstress is true, with the light at your back and your allies well, what awaits you is the second coming of Crota. Before Crota is an altar placed upon this foul notion of holiness is a chalice filled to the brim of light. It is the light exfoliated from fallen guardians, stolen through torturous and agonizing treatment. It is an end none would face willingly. It is occupied by pain and sorrow, as Erismorn described during the fall of Omar, her trusted friend and ally. Among a sea of cocoons and surrounded by thousands more freshly spawned hordes, the heart held Omar's broken body in a vice of bone and pain. She was peeling the light from his body. How? I can't imagine, and I have tried. Tendrils of luminous tore away like flesh. With every strand, Omar's scream cut the dark and is met with chattering chorus from the unborn. I can't say if they were feeding off the light itself or the pain, but my guess is both. Somehow, both. Crota wishes to drink from this chalice. It is light in the purest form, and perhaps once consumed, it will give Crota the ability to step fully into our realm. When you stand upon the crystal and summon Crota, you call forth but a shadow. Some would say his actual soul, others would say a spiritual shell. Regardless of these variations, the threat you face is now challenging you, daring you to step out into the darkness and lock yourself into battle. Use the chalice, as the very presence of Crota is said to stop your ability to regenerate your will. His summoning is calling your light. Crota may be invincible in his own realm, but here, in ours, he is mortal to weapons of his own host's creation, perhaps born of ignorance, or the ideal that no enemy would ever be able to better him. This mistake is something you must take full advantage of. Do not allow Crota to summon the magics of his oversoul, for it will undoubtedly doom you. Do not allow Crota's lieutenants to distract you from your goal. You must banish Crota back and destroy the gateway between our world and theirs. But a report from my core array suggests that Crota is merely one lord among a sea of others. The epithet Son of Oryx is an ambiguous translation, often disputed. At this time, no direct action by hive entities of more expansive power has ever been observed. Those who trade in hive lore bicker over the exact positioning of Crota. Is his world the apex of hive power, or is it the youngest and most accessible of a string of netherworlds, each host to a more terrible hive arch entity? Crota must fall, and it must be by your hands, Guardians. Do not allow fear of the darkness to stand against you. Do not falter when the light may forsake you. Look to your allies, your trusted comrades, and have that brotherhood carry your day to victory. Our hopes and aspirations are imprinted upon you. Thousands have fallen to Crota for the ideal that one day we may be free from these enemies, free to live, free to prosper. To the hive and Crota, you are a morsel, a simple meal, as your light is the sweetest taste they can savor. You will not allow this. You are not a puppet of fate, and the hive history placed upon so many other worlds is not yours. This is not your end, it is his. You must act out in vehemence and forsake your enemies in the presence of an unwavering light. You will not fall, you will not falter, and you will not be abandoned. And when you return victorious, the mantle of Paragon shall be placed upon you, not out of pride or arrogance, but out of the lives you have provided and safeguarded from an indomitable threat. Have faith, Guardians. The light is always with you.